Live from the Talking Joe studios,
it's Talking Joe with Chief and Chris. Hey, it's me, the Chief. I'm joined by my buddy.
It's Chris, aka Diagnostic 80 from The Full Force, and of course Talking Joe right now.
And of course now we've got a special guest, Chadley Bowerson Esquire, aka Chad Bowers, friend of the show, comic book writer, G.I. Joe aficionado. Welcome to the show again, sir.
Oh, man. Yeah, hey, thanks for having me back. I'm very excited.
Sir Chadley Harrington Bowers III. We should give you a full British name for this episode. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's
pretty good.
Honorary. How are you, fellas? What have you been up to this fine week?
Oh, man, I'm good. Thank you for again having me. Let's see, it's been kind of a crazy week. We bought a car yesterday. That's a pretty big deal.
Awesome. Okay. What car?
Yeah, we bought a Honda Odyssey.
Nice.
A family minivan for my wife and my two extremely tall children who were crammed into the back of a crossover for like the last 6 years. So.
I'm calling the Child Protection Services.
You should. You should. You wouldn't be the first.
What about you, Mr. Diagnostic?
In a week, oh god, it's just been work. It's been head down, lots of editing, lots of interesting news coming out of G.I. Joe recently as well, and including the fact that the Snake Eyes movie seems to have completely collapsed. The director, Robert Schwenke, seems to be off the movie, and it would appear that they're going back to the Ever Vigilant script as a basis. So I'm not sure if none of this has been fully confirmed by Hasbro and Paramount yet, but I get the feeling that SDCC might bring out a bit more information about that. But yeah, it's been kind of non-stop here at Full Force HQ. But other than that, yeah, I've just been doing lots of homework because you've made me read 1,000 comics in the last 4 days.
Trying my best, sir. Trying my best.
I was going to ask about the Ever Vigilant thing for a second.
Yes.
That's and forgive me because I don't pay attention to a lot of the
How dare you?
I know. Well, no, but like the movie stuff. Because I always, this sounds really it's like a super pessimist, but I assume it's not going to happen all the time anyway.
Oh yeah.
But that's
we all assume that.
Yeah, that's like the young G.I. Joe, right? Like that's like the team made up of kids or something like that.
No,
which one's that?
Okay, so Ever Vigilant, this script dropped from I think Josh Applebaum and Andrei Nemec, the writers, a while back, and I think the details came out through that hashtag show, and they haven't necessarily been on the money, shall we say, with a lot of it. But again, at this stage, it's all kind of conjecture and speculation anyway. But the details that emerged from that script basically had it as a sequel to Retaliation, which is a bit of a shame. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was returning as Roadblock. And then they were going to introduce Zaymot and Tomax, which I thought that was pretty cool. Maybe they could do something like the Cobra IDW series. Then it got really weird. It got so weird. There's time travel involved, and this thing where they get this kind of antimatter weapon of mass destruction because they can time travel. And I was just kind of reading the details going, what on earth? I mean, if they were to do it full Sunbow and it looked like something out of that first miniseries, like the Mass Device, and they had they were kind of projecting themselves all over the world and stuff. I could see it possibly working as a tongue-in-cheek Sunbow-esque type thing. But the fact that it's going to be a Retaliation sequel, I was just thinking, oh god, I can see how awful this would be now. But they had characters like Keelhaul, Chuckles was going to come back. I figured they were going to play the Cobra IDW angle with Chuckles and the Crimson Twins.
Deep Undercover, yeah.
Yeah, and then have... who else was involved? Wild Bill. There was a couple of other names that cropped up. I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, how insane sounding is that? But then also, I'm not sure how good that is either.
I don't like the title, though. It's a bit... it's kind of clunky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds okay, I guess, if they, if they want to keep it a franchise, I guess that's the best way to go. But I have serious doubts if they do a third one that there would be a fourth one. You know what I mean? Because it feels like we're just moving slower or further and further down the ladder of never seeing these things again.
I imagine there'll be a lot of kind of not tweaks, but kind of like a redesign of that whole script anyway, and it would be a more standalone film. And also, we don't know, we don't have full confirmation yet as to whether Snake Eyes is completely off the table. It's just that Schwenke is off that movie, so that's all we know. Anyway,
good stuff. Only time will tell, and money and budget, obviously. So, last week we tried introducing a new segment of the show called Beverage for the Show.
Beverage for the show. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Beverage for the show. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Now I am gonna go do-do and drink my beverage for the show.
And to start off with, I had this ginger beer, and the ring pull broke on me and I couldn't even get into the bottle. So I've got myself another bottle, and just to recap, this is Bundaberg ginger beer, Australia, family-owned, 375 mils, craft brewed over 3 days.
Uberweiss.
Invert bottle before opening. So I'm going to do that first. I'm going to invert the bottle before opening, and now open. Oh, wait a minute, I better revert, otherwise it'll be upside down. I'm going to pull this ring pull. Yeah, success.
It's like an unboxing video, but audio.
And then it's one of those bottles where you open it and a bit of, it's obviously not steam, but it's, a bit of vapour trails are coming out the top.
Widget vapour.
Gives me a little smell. Yes, smells gingery, which is a good start for a ginger beer. Little taste. Yes, refreshing. I can tell that is craft brewed over 3 days. Yeah, that is my beverage for the show, ladies and gentlemen. And Chad, do you happen to have one with you?
I do. Yeah, I actually did not have one until about 30 minutes ago, and I realized I needed to have one. So I ran out to a local supermarket and started digging through their cold beverage section, and I pulled a Terrapin Brewing Company from Athens, Georgia. I pulled the Hopsecutioner.
Oh, that sounds hilarious.
It's a light copper India Pale Ale, and I started looking at the different ones they had, and I pulled this one. One because it's got a terrapin with a guillotine, and he's cutting hops with a guillotine on the on the can. But he's also got a black executioner mask, which I feel like kind of ties in with what we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
So the different types of hops used in this are Warrior and Chinook and Centennial and Amarillo and Cascade. And at least Warrior and Chinook, again, they both kind of fit in with what we're talking about today, too. So I said, hey, you know what? Let's grab this thing. Let's see what we got. And I just popped the top. So let's see what this guy tastes like here.
Oh, I wish I hadn't already opened mine and drank most of it.
Hoppy and malty, I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, it's not bad. But it's very hoppy.
It doesn't take your head off, does it?
No, not really, but it's not my favorite. But it's not bad. It's very earthy.
Awesome.
Good stuff. Chris?
Yeah. I have a sparkling blackberry Izzy because, for one, I don't drink alcohol. Sorry to again throw a massive spanner in the works for you, Chief. I know that last episode we discussed
your gluten-free,
my
wheat intolerance, protein, dairy-free,
no dairy,
non-meat,
yeah.
kind of I don't eat food diet.
That's not even like that. It's I do it for the ease of the relationship, but in certain senses, it's actually something I've kind of taken on board and quite enjoy now. But anyway, aside from that, so I don't drink alcohol. Haven't since 1997 was the last time I drank alcohol. And that was against the law, technically, if you can work out.
Right, okay.
So if I was born in 1980, I was illegally drinking. Okay. So
what's this berry fizz thing you got like?
It's very nice. It is sparkling blackberry. It's exactly how you would kind of expect it to taste. It's sweet, but it's not to the point where it feels like it hasn't been diluted. You know, like how you get like Vimto sometimes, or what was it that we used to have in the Ribena? If you didn't dilute it, it would taste like thick, sweet, blimmin' tar.
Just pouring sugar down your neck.
This is a very, very bright, bubbly, fizzy, but also at the same time very refreshing and very tasty beverage. So yes,
good stuff. So it's three fine gentlemen with three fine beverages ready for the show. So because we're all feeling good about ourselves, we need to bring it back down as we go
inside Chief's mind.
So what is grinding my gears, getting my goat really twisting my knackers this week? So the sun is out, summer's here, and one thing that really, really peeves me off is people who wear shoes and no socks. When I say people, I'm talking about gentlemen, because obviously, women, who wear shoes without socks is fine, but guys who wear those stupid loafers and like deck shorts and no socks, I don't care if either of you two have got no socks on, you're falling into this category. I don't care that you're on the show.
No, I wear ankle
but-
socks and I wear shoes.
Yeah,
like
I don't leave the house without socks.
Yeah.
Good man, good man. But
Mainly because my
I don't
feet
know,
would smell
it-
like a bag of badges if I...
There you go. Number one, your feet are going to stink. You
Yeah.
don't wear socks, your feet are sweating in that shoe all day long,
Yeah.
and that's just not good for anyone involved. Number two, it just looks stupid. I'm just not a fan. I don't know, just put some socks on, damn it. I've resisted the temptation several times this week to actually go up to people, tap them on the shoulder, and just say, "What do you think you're doing? What do you think you're doing?"
Could you
So-
imagine the response if you
Oh, yeah.
did that?
Well, they would immediately know what you're asking.
They'd
right?
know. They'd say, "Look, it's my choice not to wear socks."
They'd say, I'm
I'd say-
sorry. They'd apologise first if
Yeah,
they're
they
from
should
Britain.
do. They should
Yeah.
do. But that's what's grinding my gears this week.
I think you just should take like a pack of ankle socks around with you, like everywhere you go. Just like toss them out, like it's
Good shout.
Yeah, like
It's a good
yeah,
shout.
give them out as free.
like one of those
free gifts.
like one of those t-shirt guns, you know?
sock cannon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boom! Put them on, chump.
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah. So
Hey, if Snake Eyes can find
moving
socks, then
Yeah.
they can.
Exactly. Well, speaking of Snake Eyes, we're about to crack into some G.I. Joe comics because it's time for comic talk.
Yeah.
Comic talk, oh, comic talk. Larry Hama writes them, Chief and Chris discuss them, whoa. Comic talk, oh, comic talk. Larry Hama writes them, Chief and Chris discuss them, whoa.
So this week we are going to be talking about Real American Hero issues 93 to 96. This includes the Snake Eyes Trilogy, and issue 93 kind of is part of that story anyway, so I don't know why they just didn't make it a... I suppose trilogy sounds good, doesn't it? If they made it a four-parter.
Quadrilogy doesn't have the sound.
Quadrilogy doesn't
Yeah.
have quite the sound to it. So, so here we got... we'll rank these all as one story arc, I think. That's fair. Let's have a quick look at the covers and see what we think of these. So, issue 93 is called Taking the Plunge. Top secret logo, some documents, and you can see what would be Snake Eyes' hidden visage behind this broken up top secret document. Fan of this one?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. Yeah, this cover's
is-
dope.
Who is the cover artist here, actually? Because I'm on yojo.com and they've got cover artist ?
Well, the actual Snake Eyes is taken from the interior, right? And that was by
Yes, Mark Bright.
Bright.
Mark Bright. So, do you think it's him that did the cover, or do you think it's because there's a question mark about it? There was like
Yeah.
8 people working on it or something.
It looks like it's colored different because so it's certainly, but I do think it's the same image, but at the very least, it's been touched up for the cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, Lee Weeks does most of the covers for this particular era.
Yeah, I think he comes on. I think Andy Kubert did most of these ones.
Oh, okay, for
on-
this, right?
for,
Yeah,
for this. But then you're right. Lee Weeks comes on, especially for the when the Saw Viper's killing everyone and all that sort of
right,
stuff.
right.
Whoa! Spoiler alert.
Yes.
Just kidding.
Spoilers. Just
Do you
kidding.
think because it's not like because they're using another piece of art and all they're doing over the top, or not all they're doing over the top of it, it's still a very intricate thing to design. But do you think that it was probably done so kind of, well, I'll just knock this top secret thing, cut it in half, but do it like this, boom, we've got a cover. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you think it was like maybe not a named artist, or maybe
Oh yeah.
just
Like-
someone on the design team or something just knocked it up for that particular issue?
Well, Larry lays out most of these covers, right? So that
Yeah.
may have been his input on that. I don't know, but it seems like it was pretty easy to do for sure.
It's
if that's
bloody.
what he did.
It is
And it's
bloody good
also-
though. The fact that it
yeah,
shows just enough to make you go,
Yeah.
"Oh my god!"
Because this is something that hasn't really been touched on in the run so far, up to 90 odd issues of what does Snake Eyes look like underneath. Okay, we've seen some panels where a bad guy's pulled his mask off and then shrieked in horror, but we've never seen anything. And here is a first indication that, well, holy ball bags, we actually might see Snake Eyes' face, because subject Snake Eyes, it's like, whoa, is this
Holy
him?
ball bags, Batman.
And this
yeah.
is exactly. This is good cover there.
It is a good cover.
Moving on to 94, Snake Eyes gets a new face.
Yep.
Unbandaging. It's an okay cover.
Yeah.
Similar theme. Yeah.
Similar theme to one before. Yeah.
95. This is pretty badass. You got Snake Eyes holding a sword in front of a Cobra logo with a load of dead bodies below him, flames
Yeah,
roaring
it's
in the
pretty
background.
dope. Pretty dope.
That's pretty cool. That's definitely Andy Kubert, that one.
I like the fact you've got Night Vipers, you got
Yeah, that's a good
Frag
cover.
Vipers, Alley Vipers, Vipers. I'll stop saying Vipers, but they've got like it's like a nice collection of troopers on there as well, isn't it?
That Cobra logo looks like the
Yeah.
like the Cobra Air
Yeah.
Force logo.
And
Right?
a
Yeah,
96. Another Andy Kubert cover. You got Storm Shadow, Snake Eyes back to back, load of bad guys pointing their guns at them, the red Cobra logo on the floor. Another bad cover there.
Oh, I bloody love that design for Storm Shadow so much.
Oh, so good. Notice the after Hama too in Kuber's signature there too.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That's one of the few times you see somebody like giving credit to Larry as the cover layout guy.
That's really cool. I love that. I've never noticed that before.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. So we've got, this is pretty much the same creative team for all these issues. You've got Larry Hama obviously scripting, MD Bright on pencils, Randy Emberlin inks, Rick Parker's lettering, and Bob Shireen, is on colours. I think that's consistent for all these issues, and the art is absolutely top notch throughout this whole run. So a real quick kind of synopsis for those who haven't done their homework, or decided not to read along, etc., or haven't read them for a while but like to listen anyway. The main premise of this 4 issues is Snake Eyes has decided to, or Scarlet potentially with Snake Eyes' joint decision, has gone to the Byrne Institute to get a new face, effectively. And
I find it funny that it's called the Byrne Institute.
Yeah. Yeah.
The 3rd degree Byrne Institute of Reconstructive Surgery.
Yeah. There's a few road bumps along.
I thought it was a John Byrne joke. Sorry.
Yeah. It probably is, like, totally.
Yeah. Deep burn on John Byrne in Byrne. The few road bumps here is that we see a lot of flashbacks, and the Baroness believes that Snake Eyes, when she sees his face, as we'll discuss later on, she believes he is the man who killed her brother in Saigon some years back. So she seeks vengeance on him, and in the process delivers some punishment to Snake Eyes' lover, Scarlet, and Destro comes in at the end to fix things up, and straighten things out. But effectively, it's all about Snake Eyes and digging into his past, and will this reconstructive surgery pan out for him? And the actual quick answer is no, because pretty much in one issue, it's all undone.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so let's just dig straight in. Where should we start? I don't know. What's some good bits? Do you think it's set up well in the beginning?
I think, because obviously this feels like one of those. Sorry, Chad, I'll just jump in front of you here. This feels like one of those things where this has been kind of like a slow burn build to this point, because Hammer was laying the foundation way before this trilogy happened, when he was setting up Destro to be kind of reorganizing Cobra with all of the different kind of people at different positions and all that kind of stuff. So obviously having Zorana and Baroness together is causing conflict, and that leads obviously to this quite intricate plot to to include Rock and Roll and Clutch and the Brainwave Scanner and a G.I. Joe kind of pickup extraction, and obviously the long-range reconnaissance patrol all teaming up again to kind of jump in and help Snake Eyes. So there's a lot kind of slowly building to it that you don't really know until you're reading the issues and you're going, oh yeah, I suppose that was back in those issues when that was kind of being built. So it feels like, even though Hammer does say that he doesn't know what he's doing, like in the next page, like he just kind of just kind of makes it up as he goes along. I feel like there was some, I suppose, foundation building on this particular.
Yeah, was there much clamouring to from the readers? I don't remember reading many letters where we want to see Snake Eyes' face, we want to see what he looks like under the mask. I think early doors in the first 10, 20 issues, there was that, oh, I want to know. But because so many issues have gone by, I think people had just accepted we weren't going to see his face. So do you think that was just a harm? It wasn't driven by anything. It was just Harmer wanted to, show it. Do you think?
So I heard a rumor one time, right? And I think it was built around the idea about something that was mentioned in like a Marvel Age issue.
Yeah.
That the Snake Eyes trilogy was supposed to be a Marvel graphic novel.
Oh, right.
So 94, 93, 94, 95, 96, all 4 of those would have been like what makes up a standard sort of,
right.
Marvel graphic novel. I've asked Larry about this, and he says absolutely not. but I distinctly remember hearing something about that at one point in time.
I wonder if Larry was against the idea and has forced it out of his head, kind of like
that was. I don't know, because it does feel like a huge event. You know what I mean? It feels like a big deal. Like we know today, like if they were going to reveal like Snake Eyes' face in a story and we'd never seen it before, that would be huge.
Yeah.
That would be saved for like, especially when it happens in number 93, which is the prelude to the Snake Eyes trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's kind of weird when that happens, and then we're really just 6 issues away from number 100 at that point. So it's weird. So it feels very organic, and I really like the way it happens.
Yeah. Takes you by surprise a little bit, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. So yeah, I don't know. I figure, I know that I was 10 years old when this comic came out, and I was definitely clamoring to see Snake Eyes' face still.
Okay.
I have to talk about this from the UK side of things, because obviously we had the Action Force comics, we had like Battle originally, and then we got the Marvel UK Action Force weekly and monthly.
Right.
And I think it became a European Missions one in the end. I can't remember now. But effectively, there's a short story. It's like a very short story where a journalist, like, he sent a letter with like a slide on it. And basically puts the slide in, and it's basically this kind of a group of pictures showing a mission, or showing like this. It's called War Correspondence. Apologies for forgetting that. And basically, he gets this letter, this journalist, and it says something along the lines of, I've got a hot one for you. The editor wants you to, put this in the newspaper because it's like all about Snake Eyes, the guy at Action Force. And he's like, okay, so he's going through and the whole issue is just the roo-rah chick, as he's going through each different scene. And effectively, this journalist, funnily enough, the journalist who has got the letter and the thing is on scene, and he's taking the pictures of this thing. So you find out later that it's actually him who's taking the pictures. The Dreadnoks turn up. They basically attack Flint and Snake Eyes on base. They take this like super secret dossier off Flint, top secret dossier, and so they chase after the Dreadnoks. Snake Eyes jumps on the Thunder Machine and beats up Ripper and knocks him off, and then Ripper grabs his mask and pulls it off. So you see Snake Eyes with his back to the camera as the roo-rah chick is getting closer, and you see the back of his head. He looks like Sloth from the Goonies from behind. Like he's like this, like kind of almost like a little spine running up the back of his head. It's really weird, like tufts of hair. It's really gross. And as he does the last kind of picture, the last slide, it obviously is Snake Eyes turned around, but you don't see it. So he just the journalist takes the slide out. He lights it on fire and he throws it in an ashtray, and that's the end of the story. And I just thought, it's really cool. Like it kind of made such a mysterious character even more mysterious. And I think by taking the hood off, I think it takes a little bit away from Snake Eyes, in all honesty. And I think if you keep the mystery going, it keeps that clamour to want to see it even more like intense. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I would agree 100%. I'm actually just writing all this down so I can go find that issue. But but the other thing, too, is that, I mean, I certainly wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, but it's not as bad as you think it's going to be, if that makes sense.
Oh, totally. Were you a little bit disappointed?
I mean, it sounds morbid to say yes, but I mean, maybe, yeah, like what you have in your head, certainly probably more grotesque,
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, I mean, maybe over time, age had helped to heal some of the scars and stuff. I think there's potentially even a letter, I'm not sure, I'll try and find it in the letters column, where Larry even mentions that maybe time has healed some of these ravaging war wounds. So, yeah, but yeah, I think at the time I was in the same boat that I want him to look like, a completely mashed up, kind of just lopsided. Oh, it's a bit lopsided and everything, but just completely, you couldn't tell it was a human face.
Yeah,
right, exactly. I mean, because
we're so messed up. The
reactions that we had seen up to that point, it certainly implied that it was something. Whereas this guy, I mean, not to say that he certainly isn't scarred or affected by the trauma, but geez, yeah, I mean, he's got a bit of a Jonah Hex thing going, right? Like we can all say,
yes, definitely.
Yeah, it's the eye and the lips and that little tuft of like sideburn that's kind of unconnected.
Just shave it off, mate. Just shave that off.
Yeah, exactly.
You have the power. You have the power to do that.
I'll tell you what. Before we actually crack into that Snake Eyes storyline full bore, let's just take care of the other bit with. Like you said earlier, Chris, Rock and Roll and Clutch and the Baroness, or Zorana and Road Pig and the Dreadnoks. Let's just focus on that bit for the moment, I guess. Get it out of the way.
Yeah, let's get it out of the way.
Talk about it.
It's a B plot.
There's some. He put some humour in this early pages, man, of the issue 93. Zorana's just booted. Road Pig's just booted Baroness out the chopper, and she's got a big boot mark on her forehead.
Yeah,
which I thought was quite funny. And then a few pages later, when she's shopping Zorana to the G.I. Joe, she's looking in some massive telescope.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find that page. It's like the biggest thing you've ever seen in your life.
The City Snoop is what it's got on the side.
City Snoop. Yeah, that's
Snoop,
amazing. Yeah. Love that. But
I want that to be made. I need to get a customizer on that.
City Snoop.
Yeah.
But Road Pig, I guess, was trying to kill Baroness, was he? Because he actually booted her out of the chopper.
Yeah.
And she's managed to cling on, another bit of comedy, she's clinging on to a back wheel of the chopper. Theoretically, he was trying to kill her.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Well, he was doing what Zorana wished, wasn't he? Because he loves her so much.
Yeah. The art here is so good. One thing that, and I don't want this to, this is not, it's the only negative I've got about all the art here is I'm not a massive fan of the way Mark draws Destro's face.
I was just going to say that. It looks a little bit kind of fleshy, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think previously we'd seen it more as a kind of immovable, unbendable
like
mask.
Yeah.
Although it had sort of features, but here he draws it very malleable, kind of almost like a second skin.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not bad at all, but it's just what I think maybe the ears are the thing that's throwing me off.
Yeah, I think it's the eyes too. Like if there were like some slits with eyes behind those slits, maybe it would do something. But this just looks like his eyes.
What's the guy in Flash Gordon called? Is it General Clytus? The one that
Clytus.
has
Clytus.
The one
Clytus,
that has that's what he should look like effectively, because that's the that's about as real as it gets, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or Doctor Doom, yeah. And the other thing I wanted to mention here is we had this discussion the other week, Chris, about how the brainwave scanner works.
You can't prove it.
We kind of agreed that it was Cobra creating some kind of computer software program that then was being beamed into the Joe's minds. But here they're actually building physical sets.
Yeah, sets and props, which I don't think necessarily was what was going on in the previous issues. I think maybe there's a mixture of things going on, but I just can't see in that other issue if they were props or not. Like, I can't tell. I just can't work out. Chad, do you have any insight on that?
No.
How does the brainwave scanner work, Chad? Come on, that's what I think on the show.
No, well, I think I agree with both of you guys. It kind of works two different ways. Like, when we see it previously, it's like a virtual reality almost, right? Like, they're going inside the thought and doing damage inside the thought to affect the way the memory works, right? But in this, they're physically, like, almost like a green screen with actual like theater props in front, and we even see Torch roll that like giant cardboard submarine out, and he even makes a comment. It's this is that classic sort of like Looney Tunes sort of Larry Hama like ain't I a stinker kind of stuff. It's like it's so weird that. He even draws attention to it, and he draws attention to it sort of after the fact from a scripting standpoint, which I always find fascinating. And so you wonder sort of what Mark's working off of in the script. Is the script kind of like conflating the two? Like what's the difference in the script or the plot rather? Because who drew the first Brainwave issues? Would that be like Wiggum or somebody? Like it's very different though for sure.
Quick break here. I've just flipped over the comic and issue 93. And I've got an advert here, double-page advert for cartoons on NBC.
Nice.
In 1989, I guess this would have been. So, Chad, does any of these cartoons ring a bell? Kissy Fur.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's a bear,
I don't
right?
know any of these.
I was called Kissy Fur all through junior school because of that show.
What's Kissy Fur? I don't know. Oh, is it a bear?
It's like a little bear, yeah. It's like a little bear kid with a dad or something.
Camp Candy. Looks like looks like a fat cartoon version of John Candy.
That's exactly right.
The bee bites, the bark of the tree bites, the quietness of darkness, the stories told by firelight, the long nights, the food fights, a summer made of memories at Camp Candy.
Okay, now Captain N, the Games Master.
Game Master, yeah.
Love that show. That was the best show.
I don't know any of these.
Captain N, the Game Master.
Karate Kid, obviously I know there.
Sure.
And he's saying, Daniel-san, this gonna be good year.
Oh, no.
Will I be ready, Miyagi? Bit of non-PC there. Smurfs, which I know.
Long, long ago, deep in the forest, there was a hidden village where tiny creatures lived. They called themselves Smurfs. They were good.
Chipmunks, which I know.
Watch out! 'Cause here we come! It's been a while, but
by the Bell. Didn't know it was a cartoon.
It's a...
When I wake up in the morning and the market's out of warning, I don't think I'll ever make it on time. By the time I grab my books and I give myself a look, I'm at the corner just in time to see the bus fly by. It's alright, 'cause I'm saved by the bell.
Alf Tales and Alf.
No more tabby paw pie for me before bedtime.
Brilliant.
It's a banner year for NBC there.
I'll tell you what, Captain Nintendo, man. Oh, I used to pretend. I used to get my zapper, and that would be my belt, and I would run around pretending to be Captain N. I was 25 at the time, so
he's holding a zapper, and he actually says, "You don't need electricity with me around." Somehow he can fire electricity from his gun.
He got it off Mars.
I'm jumping back here now to the issue at hand. We also see here for the first time some Tiger Force stuff. I know you're a big fan of Tiger Force, Chris.
Well, actually, not for the first time, because it has appeared previously to this in that Special Missions issue which we covered previously.
Last week, you mean?
Yes,
that I don't remember.
Exactly. Yeah, I was going to actually point this out because this is the... you very rarely get... like Tiger Force at all. It's like one Special Missions issue and then the odd shot of a vehicle here and there. I think there's another one in an issue we did recently as well.
Okay.
But I get the feeling that Larry was trying to write them out a little bit because he wipes one out, doesn't he? The Sting.
Yeah, I mean this Tiger Sting is the Tiger Sting a repainted Cobra Stinger?
Yeah.
So are we led to believe that? Are we led to believe that G.I. Joe are buying weapons from the same place, from Mars?
No, captured Cobra vehicles, mate. They're captured Cobra vehicles.
Okay.
That was the whole premise. Some of them weren't, but most of them were. Yeah. So you had the Ferret, which was the Tiger Rat, I believe. You had the Rattler. Oh, sorry, that was the Tiger Rat. The Ferret was the... Tiger Paw.
Goat.
Is that right? Yeah.
I think it's a Tiger Paw.
That's the four-wheeler, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was a captured Cobra vehicle. There's a bunch, but then obviously you've got the Snowcat in there, which isn't. But that was the whole premise was that they were capturing Cobra vehicles and
vice versa.
Yeah, with Python Control.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, because as I've mentioned every single time on the show, my G.I. Joe knowledge has pretty much exclusively come from the comics at this point. Well, I was getting the toys, but at this point I had kind of long stopped collecting the toys. So
how dare you?
All these Tiger vehicles, although they look cool, I don't really know any of the background. But that's why you're on the show, Chris, to just tell me about the toys.
Incidentally, the Tiger Cat was a Snowcat, right? The Tiger Paw was the Ferret. The Tiger Fly was the Dragonfly, so that wasn't Cobra. And the Tiger Shark was Copperhead's Moccasin.
Moccasin, yeah.
So that was a Cobra one as well. So there was kind of like a mixture, but the whole premise was billed as a Cobra stealing kind of scenario.
Oh yeah, I think you said they do take the Stinger out off panel here.
Yeah, there's a lot that happens between the end of that cut and when we come back. Yeah,
a bit of firefight, and you turn over, and the Stinger's upturned in flames.
and the Conan van's turned over on its side too.
Oh yeah, right, yeah.
That's a big shift. Let's talk about the Conan van for a second. If we go back to the City Snoop page, right? Because Larry's editor on Conan at the time.
Was he?
I believe. Yeah, I believe he's at least, if he's not editor, he had certainly been editor on that book for a while. So yeah, it's such a weird, you've got the Mr. Zoftig ice cream truck, and then
is that Mr. Softy in like German or something?
Yeah, I guess well, that's what the question is that Mark Bright just doing two vans? And Larry like making them part of the story, or are we specifically saying in the plot, hey, make sure one's an ice cream truck with and make sure one's like a heavy metal van with like a barbarian on the side? I don't know. I'm almost curious about that stuff.
I mean, were they thinking this was the most inconspicuous vehicles they could get? Let's go deep undercover. No one's going to think to stop an ice cream van and a van with a big barbarian on the side.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're kind of fitting for the Dreadnoks, but
I just typed in Zoftig definition, and this is what I get. Definition is having a full rounded figure, pleasantly plump.
There you go.
There's it.
Interesting.
Well, Road Pig's in that van, isn't he? So Anzarana.
Yeah.
take your pick. Yeah.
But it's funny I was gonna say if you look at the vans, I forget what page it is because I'm in the trades, but it's when you see the back of the vans, all the like bumper stickers and stuff on the back of the Dreadnoks van. The license plate for the Conan van is Knock 1.
Nice.
Oh yeah. I don't break for anything.
Yeah, that's right.
What's the other one? If you
Beat
can
it.
read this, you're too close.
You're too close. Yeah. Beat it and the other one, yeah.
And then some goddamn yuppies show up.
And I love the fact that his license plate has like Yup 1 on it
Yeah,
as well
yeah,
as whatever.
yuppie one. Yeah.
Yuppie one, yeah.
Yeah, and they just, they just literally, they want to throw down with the military. One guy's got a crowbar out, and he's literally willing to take out Roadblock, who's got a M60 or whatever he's got. No, he's 50 cal, sorry.
Yeah, Mardouse.
Yeah, Mardouse, yeah. This crowbar do it, but, yeah. And one guy's like, oh, you're going to make me late for my crystal aura balancing.
Yeah, it felt very like an indictment of like California culture and not like Long Island culture at the time. You know what I mean? Which is weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty interesting.
I think that was the yuppie thing was pretty big back then, though, wasn't it? There was like that whole craze of, I mean, like there were news reports and all sorts, like just dedicated to the yuppies. So I think Larry was jumping on the current topical trends.
It is a bit of an odd choice, though. Obviously, this is for the purpose of Zorana and the Dreadnoks getting away. This is the diversion, the distraction. It does seem a little bit odd that was, I don't mind it at all. I think it's pretty cool. But, I wonder if like you say, I wonder if it was in the zeitgeist, in the popular culture, and that was why Larry wanted to use the yuppie as the distraction.
I think sometimes with the writing, I would prefer it if, there's like a more subtle approach to like how a mob is formed. The problem is when you're writing this stuff, you have to be very individual to certain people that are speaking, and you have to highlight certain people in that speaking, otherwise it doesn't make any sense. And I kind of feel like in reality, yes, a mob could form and cause some issues to military forces or whatever, but in this case it doesn't feel natural. But again, like I can't, it's comics. Like you have to have some element of ridiculousness in there sometimes.
Yeah. So I'll say this: this is something we can kind of talk about as we go through the issues a little closer too. As an adult reading this, and I've read this story so many times when I was a kid, but as an adult reading this, that stuff kind of popped up all over the place.
Yeah.
And again, G.I. Joe is still primarily a book being written for people who are like, 11 and under.
Yeah.
And I think it's certainly fitting, and I never noticed it when I was a kid, but there's even a moment when it's just little pieces of dialogue that are so interesting, little quirks. And we can get back to the Dreadnought stuff in a minute, because I think there's a couple more things to talk about there. But like when Scarlet and Snake Eyes when their cab pulls up to in Switzerland, and the line is, "Driver, that hospital-like building over there." It's like, it's a hospital or it's not. What's a hospital-like building?
Yeah,
that's an interesting line.
I have been all over the world, and every hospital building looks different as well. So it's like,
right. Yeah, what does this thing look like? And then, so anyway, there's another couple of little things like that we can talk about as we go through. But yeah, I mean, it's I guess what we call Hama-isms, Yeah.
I'm just flicking the page here. I've got another advert, and this is one of those Marvel pages with checklists for issues, and it's a feature called Star Signals, and it says, "Can you name this? What this guy did?" It says, "Meet superstar Tony Franco." Writer on... No, I've actually never heard of Tony Franco.
Tony Franco?
Tony Franco. He was a Marvel writer.
Tony Franco.
He was the penciler on Heathcliff.
Oh, cool.
And the writer on Hugger Bunch, Popples, and Foofer. And he's the current writer on another kid's book. It was a Hanna-Barbera cartoon... Very famous. There was a live-action movie made of this cartoon.
Scooby-Doo?
Nope. It was...
Bear?
It was relaunched recently...
Garfield?
At DC for a 12-issue run.
Oh, God.
Flintstones?
Yeah, Flintstone Kids is
Flintstone
this comic
Kids,
he writes.
okay, yeah.
So, but anyway... I've never heard of him, and I
Superstar.
didn't even know it was a Flintstone Kids comic.
Yeah, like
Megastar. Oh yes, meet Superstar Tony Franco. Anyway.
So you promoted him to Megastar in your head?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
That's how much you love Flintstones.
Moving on.
One of the lesser-known Franco brothers as well.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. The Dreadnoks do escape here, though, don't they? They get away, of course, and then Baroness decides she doesn't want them escaping, or she wants, a contingency plan, and she presses a button with the sound effect of boink, and then the van blows up with a wham. She's planted some explosives.
That's a pretty cool twist.
Yeah.
And again, like you can see through it. It's she wants them captured. She wants the Joes captured naturally. She wants it to kind of look, right.
Well, she says you want it to be credible, and look. But they've already, I guess the thing is, maybe she wants to because the Joes have now been.
She also hates Zorana, so.
Well, she wants to just kill Zorana, I guess, because the captured Joes are now in the custody of the Joes, or are they still in the back of the van?
No, not yet. They're still in Zoftig, Mr. Zoftig.
Ah, of course they are. Yeah. Yes, of course they are.
Because the next issue talks about how the front of the van only blew up, and that the manifold between the front and the back kept them alive.
Yeah, it was carefully placed. She didn't want to obviously kill the Joes because they need to get into the pit.
Yeah, it's a precision explosives. Yeah.
My favourite kind of explosives.
Yeah, exactly.
When you got to blow something up, but like very, very carefully.
When you only want to take out a third of it.
And that's pretty much. There's a few. The next 3 issues, they do touch a little bit on Clutch and rock and roll, but only from a viewpoint of they tell a story supposedly off panel about them being captured in a submarine and escaping. But apart from that, it's pretty much all flat out Snake Eyes stuff from now on.
Yeah, big time.
And I tell you what, I really
on the massive
love
flashback for the Baroness as well, right?
Yeah. Which is kind of Snake Eyes related, I guess, in a way.
Big
but
time.
that first page, and Harmer's been doing this pretty much every issue. First page is always a splash page. Yeah. In fact, is that a comic book thing anyway that I just don't notice, Chad? You'll be better versed than me to know.
No, not really. I mean, sometimes it tends to happen in these issues more than others. But splashes seem to be throughout this whole trade. I was noticing that last night. He doesn't do that every issue, but he may do that at every issue of G.I. Joe.
Yeah, he does it. Every first page is pretty much from Larry. It's pretty much. I mean, I've got 12,000 comics, and off the top of my head, I wouldn't even be able to tell you whether it's standard to have a splash on the front page. That's just how I just obviously have the worst memory in the world. But,
I like that technique though. I like that first opening page being really powerful enough to really draw you in. Kind of going, oh whoa, that's cool, and then you kind of knocks you back a little bit, and you get into the story. It's almost like taking you by surprise a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, and that first page, look at that. I mean, it's almost like Mark Bright's done an homage to it's like Kirby Crackle in that bottom left-hand panel. Instead of being crackly, it's bubbly. It's like a bright bubble.
It's like Zartan's effect in the comics when it changes, isn't it? So I wonder if that's Zartan just changing into a console.
At the risk of losing any G.I. Joe cred I've built over the years, I have honestly never noticed that every issue starts with a splash page.
Yeah, there you go. That's how deceptive it is. That's what I was saying. It's
psych out, deceptive
sneaks
warfare.
up on you.
Yeah, and I just looked through maybe 20 issues here on the desk, and it's true. I mean, wow, that's incredible. You just never noticed that. So yeah, it's a great way to catch your attention for sure.
Definitely.
Anyway,
and he's got some funky tools on that little tray that he's going to operate with.
Oh my god, yeah.
I don't know what's going to be happening. And there's a funny bit in the previous issue where Scarlet actually says when they're going to the Burn Institute, it's this special cutting edge surgery. It's going to be so painful, it might even be fatal. She's basically saying to him, "You might not come out of this."
Yeah. Well, so there's a time jump here too, right? So number 93 ends ends with the explosion, and then when Hawk calls Scarlet to let her know kind of what's going on, like she basically says that it's been like a month. Yeah,
that's right. So,
which is very interesting. Which I guess is a good way to explain how Snake Eyes' face has like gone through multiple surgeries, and he's basically healed up. I guess
exactly. Yeah, because obviously you wouldn't be able to have you'd still have some stitches and some scar lines and stuff, but that's like you say, it's good reasoning about how his face is cleared up. But
what we need now is we need to fill that 6 months in with loads of G.I. Joe missions, the lost 6 months or something.
Yeah,
cool. Yeah.
really cool panel here on page 3 of where Snake Eyes is having his flashbacks to Saigon, and you've got Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow and Stalker in the Jeep with the planes going overhead, and it's like a bustling really downtown like Saigon. Page. Really cool panel.
Mm-hmm. That. So let's talk about this. I know you guys have talked about this on the show before, but like ages and stuff like that of these guys, right? Like how the ages sort of like they don't really ever bother me as a distraction or anything like that. But I did the math last night. So this is 68, right? They flat out say it's 68.
Okay.
What am I doing? Am I going down a rabbit hole here? Should I stop?
Do it.
No,
I'm
go.
excited. I'm excited to hear how old these guys are.
Well, if you do the math, Stalker in present day would be about 45, assuming he's 25 here.
Right.
Yep.
Or, and that's okay, but you'd be hard-pressed, I think, to find anybody else, say, like Captain America in 1989 headlining a book that's probably assumed to be over 35.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And then when you start doing the math on, Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, it works out about the same way. And, I just find the ages fascinating on these guys.
I totally agree with that, but at the same time, I kind of, as a kid, you kind of, when you look at the toy line and you look at the characters, everyone, you don't really take age into consideration. You just see everyone as like an equal in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
They're all on this. They're all the kind of, the figures are all. I'm not sure if this is a psychological thing, but the figures being the exact same height all the way across the board, and then you're kind of like. Your brain almost tricks you into thinking, everyone is like the same, and age isn't a thing. Like it just, I would be hard pressed to even say what I thought the ages were of those guys.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's really weird, isn't it? No, I totally agree with that. And then, so I like the fact that when Larry does the issues, Stalker appears a little bit older, General Hawk appears a little bit older. So you've got like. The ages start to kind of like be formed in your mind a little bit, and I could definitely see Hawk being like close to 50. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? I could definitely see Stalker easily being that 45 kind of age, and the others being like, in their 30s, because it's not like you can just come straight out of high school as an elite operative. I think there has to be some years of experience in the warfare arena that you're in to build that. So I think it's fascinating, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know many comics. The only one I actually know, there probably are a couple, but the only one I know of that takes place in real time is the Judge Dredd strip in 2000 AD. So a year calendar in our time is actually a year in the comic, and all the characters and all the storylines age in real time.
Yeah, Savage Dragon does that too.
Ah, does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But there really aren't many that do that. And, most comics will go out of their way to not date something presently.
Yeah.
But, and assuming this story is taking place in like 1989, they give the Baroness's age later on as 16 as well, which puts her at like 37, which is interesting.
And again, I could see that. I could just about, because Zorana calls her old, doesn't she?
Right. That's what I was going to call back to. You're exactly right. There's a moment where they address that earlier on. Not that 37 is by any stretch of the imagination old, but
I hope not.
Yeah.
I'm long gone. I'm
way past it.
45 either, yeah.
Yeah. Can we just say 60s really young? Can we just go there and then we'll be safe for a while, yeah?
Yes. Fine. Yeah, I'm just flicking through. You actually mentioned this earlier, Chris, about the Vipers on the cover, and is this the first time we see Alley Vipers, Night Vipers, and Heat Vipers as well?
Well, there are Frag Vipers, but we've seen Frag Vipers, haven't we? We've seen Frag Vipers. I think we have seen Night Vipers at, I want to say, shortly after the Cobra Civil War. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure we've seen Night Vipers already.
Yeah, I think 92 is where you actually roll out Frag Vipers and Alley Vipers.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Because that issue, right, and I know you guys have already covered this on the show, but that issue is really just a product dump.
Yeah.
Of all new kinds, of all new characters, all new vehicles.
Thunderclap, Warthog, Condor, yeah.
So much so that in the issue, you actually see characters looking at new vehicle guides for 1989.
Yeah, that's quality.
There's a scene where Cross Country's looking at a guide. They identify the Condor because Cross Country has a guidebook showing what the new product's going to be for 1989. Amazing. And then you kick back and you see an Annihilator looking at what the G.I. Joe products are going to be for 1989.
Amazing.
And then you see one of the guys in Rio Lindo looking at one in Spanish that's got both of them in it, which is great.
It's such a lovely little kind of homage, isn't it?
No, it's great.
Yeah, it's just brilliant. They should have gone whole hog and recreated the product leaflets that you get with the figures, just completely, scan it in and just copy it into that little...
Yeah, why hide it?
It's amazing.
How do we feel about this flashback with Snake Eyes and the Decobras? Because, what's again, for those who haven't read it, what's happened is, where we mentioned that panel where all the guys are in Saigon, there's a couple of guys on a moped come by, it's a drive-by, they kill the local kid, can't remember his name. Stalker takes a flesh wound, Storm Shadow's down, Snake Eyes is the only one unscathed. He then jumps in the Jeep and basically tries to hot-tail it after him to get some revenge. And this is where he stumbles on the Baroness and her brother, and this is what leads... The brother gets killed, and the Baroness thinks that Snake Eyes was on the scene, and he's the one. She's built her whole international terrorist career around this point in time. Do we like this flashback and the interlinks?
I do like it a lot. I think it works really well for the story. The question that I've always had about this, again, especially as reading it as an adult, is what spurs that flashback for Snake Eyes? Like, we know why the Baroness is thinking about that particular day, but why is Snake Eyes on the operating table thinking about that day?
Yeah, good thought. I mean, but I think maybe it was just missed that there would be some sort of link for him to be sparked with that memory at the same time. Maybe it's because the Baroness is nowhere to be seen at this stage, is she? Like, she's nowhere near Snake Eyes. Yeah,
right. But you can even write it off as like in that mini-series that we're going to do that tells you what happened in that 30 days. That Snake Eyes overheard a call to the Baroness or something like that. Yeah. There's plenty of ways to make it work. It's just an interesting piece of that story that connects the two.
Yeah.
That whole chase scene in that flashback is quality, where the guys are shooting back at Snake Eyes, and especially when that Jeep rolls and kind of blows up and he's underneath it, burning.
Great. Beautiful art.
Really good stuff.
Cool. Totally.
I mean, the art's kind of transitioned because you had that lovely Rod Wiggum period. Ron Wagner came on, and when Ron Wagner was inked really well, his stuff was fantastic. Unfortunately, there were some issues where the inks were a little bit thin, perhaps a little bit scratchy, and for me personally, it, was up and down. The Tony Salmons arc, I know I'm in a minority of someone who actually quite likes it, but I know the vast majority don't. Marshall Rogers, again, some of his stuff was great, some of his stuff was a bit down, but now with Mark Bright on this kind of extended run, it's just high quality stuff from top to bottom across all the board of pencils, inks, colours. Everything is just really popping and sitting so nice.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mentioned on the show the first time I was here, Chief, that I'm a huge fan of the Mark Bright run on this book, and there's like an element of like Neil Adams in his art, even though it's a little more cartoony. If you look at his layouts, they're very much, I think, from that like Neil Adams school.
Yeah,
and I just love this run.
There's that one page where, spoiler alert, Baroness shoots Scarlet in the face, and it is just incredible. Like it's just, I mean, you feel that page. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just whoa. Even like Scarlet's hand just off the bottom of that panel, just kind of like it's just insanity, that bit.
Oh, it's perfect, yeah.
The ejection of the cartridge, I think, as well, kind of he hangs it, and the shade and the colouring, amazing stuff. Actually, I tell a lie, I did mention earlier that it's pretty much straight on Snake Eyes stuff, but of course we do get a couple of pages at the back of this issue where our old friend Raptor shows up, and Billy gives him a nice kick to the face, and he starts talking about where his dad's buried, and that's going to be picked up, and again, just a few smattering of pages in the next couple of issues.
Do you think he wears that costume while he's an accountant at work as well?
Yes,
because he's driving around in it, so I'm guessing like he prefers that get-up to like a suit and tie or whatever.
Well, I think he said when he's introduced, he said it helps the birds to calm down when he's dressed up as a big bird, but. I wish it was Big Bird that showed up. Actual full-on Sesame Street Big Bird.
I know, and he gets confused and thinks it's another bird, and he starts like mating with it, and Raptor's like, "What the hell?" Yeah, I can see that.
We get. I listened
Snake
to
Eyes' his face, man. That's what I want to see now.
Yeah. I listened to the War Rocket Ajax podcast, and I know the guys on there are a couple of your friends, Chad.
I don't know what that is.
Chris and Matt, and what we got coming up here is what they would call some full-on Marvel Comics bullshit.
Oh yeah,
which is the Paine brothers, and these are guys who are effectively professional torturers. And look at their get-up. Look at what they're wearing. That is amazing.
AF.
I love those guys.
Sexy AF. So which one is it who's got the Snake Eyes mask and the axe with the sex trousers on?
That's not Torquemada. That's the other dude. They all have names.
They do that. I can't remember which one's which.
Yeah. There's Torquemada. Decide's the guy with the mullet.
Oh, yeah. He's a douche.
Torquemada. And then there's Crispo. Yeah.
Okay, so he's my favourite, but mainly because of those sexy trousers. And then there's a panel where he's been incorrectly inked to not have flesh showing at the top of his legs. So, yeah, it's like he stole Psylocke's lower half, isn't it? And then... That is so Psylocke's pants.
Oh, wow, yeah. I'm looking at that now. I never noticed that before. That's ridiculous.
Unless he was incorrectly inked on that panel, and he shouldn't have showing flesh, but there's lines there.
There's two shots of him like that. The next page, second panel, has him in the same shot. Yeah, so maybe the second time he shows up,
I think it's
wrong.
the opening page. The opening page is wrong then, yeah. I think he should have had flesh showing.
That's beautiful.
Why is there no figure for this dude?
I imagine a customizer has done that.
Oh, yeah.
And probably done horrible things to it.
That's a road pig, and what is that? It's a road pig and a Snake Eyes head. I'm trying to figure out how you would make that.
Yes, but how would you do that? And then a Marvel Infinites Psylocke lower half.
Oh, I was going to say, who shows their legs? Yeah, exactly.
This is a bit strange here because she's hired
with heels as well. Sorry, carry on.
She's hired the Paine brothers to, you would assume, inflict some pain on Snake Eyes and torture him. But then she takes over and she's like, I don't want anyone inflicting anything on him. So
exactly.
I don't really know why they're there.
Yeah, why take him down there?
They're only there so that Snake Eyes has something to wear. That's it.
Which I absolutely love. I love this part of the story. Yeah.
I've got to talk about this. So I'm bringing up that trip to the US, Chief, for the fourth, I think, episode in a row now. Apologies.
Okay, do it.
So I went to the US in 1989 with my mum and dad. I'm going to stop saying that from now on because I think people know it verbatim. And again, one of those figures that I saw on the shelves in 89 was the versions for Snake Eyes. And I had no context at all about this figure. I just thought, oh man, he looks cool, and thought that's a really, really awesome redesign update to the figure. Fantastic, I'll have him. And then it wasn't until like years later that I read this run and was like, oh, that's why
now I get it.
He's wearing all those weird clothes. But yeah, it was like having no context to why he all of a sudden has an updated redesign. I just thought it was them cashing in on the character and just, you know, obviously it was, but I mean, I didn't realise there was actually something to it. Or I suppose this is Larry's retconning of that figure, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's what happened. The figure comes first.
Yeah.
And then in the comics he puts that, because those are too many specific pieces.
Yeah.
But there's anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. But I think this is just total Marvel Comics bullshit, but perfect in its way.
Yeah, it's great stuff. And like we mentioned earlier, Snake Eyes has had his surgery. Success! He didn't die. But now one of the Paine brothers, I think it's
Crispo, I think.
Crispo, yeah. He basically throws a load of flaming hot coals straight into his face and, oops, scarred again.
So let me ask you this. This is something that the aforementioned Chris and I have discussed many times. As a kid, I read that story as him getting the hot coals thrown in his face and that being like, it was just fixed, and now it's messed up again.
Yeah.
But I think looking back on it, I don't think it is messed up. I think we're supposed to be like, oh no, that it happened. But if you remember, and this gets way ahead of, I don't know if we can even do this. I'll just say that I don't think it's messed up, because later on he takes his mask off again, and he's not wearing the rubber mask. He's just wearing the glasses. Yeah. And then, but I will say this, in Larry's modern stuff, the IDW stuff, he is wearing a rubber mask again. So I don't know. But that's something for you guys to discuss in the show later on, obviously. But I don't think his face is completely messed up. Yeah. Oh, it really is.
I mean, the fight scene is really well done, you know, with the chain. It's got weapons, chains and swords and whatever. And then there's one panel just where Snake Eyes takes them all out with a low blow. One of them's got like a mace or a club with like some big metal spikes sticking out of it, and I mean that is going to leave a mark for sure.
Oh yeah,
that's going to hurt. Yeah.
But
he's winding up to use it as well. Like he's literally going to cleave him in twain with it.
Yeah, they say they're gonna pulp him. Is what I think they say.
It looks like something out of a wrestling match where he's got a kendo stick, or whatever. But obviously it's a bit more deadly, and the guy's leaning over, ready to take the kendo stick to the back. But this one's going to be a bit more painful. And then we see obviously Snake Eyes pick up some of the gear that the Paine brothers have been wearing.
All right, so let's talk about this for 1 second, because he picks up the gear, right? What's the first thing he does? He picks up the katana, right? And then he puts on the mask, right? to cover his face. So this is sort of the Batman thing. What's real? Like, is Snake Eyes the guy underneath the mask, or is the mask the face, and all these pieces? I've always thought this because there's no reason for him to put that mask on. There's genuinely no reason for him to put that mask on. Yeah. But from a psychological standpoint, like, I think Snake Eyes is like, nope, I tried it the other way. This is my face.
Yeah, I think he knows. Yeah, man.
So that reminded me of that Law and Order quote in the movie. We tried it the other way, but it didn't work.
Hey, Law and Order's a theme, man. He finds the bombs, I drive the car. We tried the other way, but it didn't work.
It didn't work, yeah.
He finds the bombs, I drive the car. We tried it the other way, but it didn't work.
It's Adam Rich's favorite line.
He loves that line so much. Yeah. It's why I know it so well, because he says it every episode we do.
Yeah, exactly. But, did you guys ever read the Garth Ennis Punisher Born miniseries?
Yeah, I did.
Yes.
The big story there is sort of that there's something in Frank Castle long before his family's even gone.
Yeah.
That makes him just like, he is just a killer at heart, you know? I think that's
because he enjoys it so much.
I don't think Snake Eyes enjoys it so much as it's just who he is. He's just so good at it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Rambo, First Blood, where, he's come out of the war, he doesn't know what else to do.
Right.
He's wandering through a town, whatever, and he has a mental breakdown at the end of the movie because he wants to live a civilian life and he can't do it. And I think that's the same as Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes can't do anything else.
Oh yeah.
And he feels in that kind of persona, he has to wear the mask and he has to, like you mentioned, get into the role, as it were.
It's a shame we can't see, like, Snake Eyes have a breakdown, like we see Rambo have a breakdown in First Blood, because, like, I think that would, like, we can't now, obviously, but, I think that character could have done with some, like, ability to show a real kind of, like, emotion towards what has happened in his life. There's never any, like, real big moment with him other than when he's with Scarlet and they're together, but he's always very calm and upright and very straight and very composed.
Together.
Yeah.
I think he's come to terms with it when they first go to get him in the High Sierras when we first see them recruit him. I think he's had that moment and he's already kind of just fine with it at that point. Which is, a story that I'd love to see. I'd love to see him have that moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, Storm Shadow doesn't invite too many people up to the house, you know what I mean? So, like, he invites this dude that he served with for a couple of years. That when they were in Vietnam together, like, Storm Shadow had to see something in this American guy.
Yeah.
That Storm Shadow is a trained assassin ninja before he even goes into the jungle.
Yeah.
What is it about Snake Eyes that he's able to identify as being, better than, or, something special about him?
That he's not going to do the same for Stalker or
Exactly.
Wade or
or any of those
Ramon.
guys.
Yeah.
Ramon.
Well, you mentioned them earlier, and you just mentioned them then. They get the long-range recon patrol back together, don't they, effectively, because Wade has done a bit of recon himself in the Cobra Consulate.
As
and
a
then
CG.
As a CG. Well, you haven't seen the CGs for a while either. And, it's a shame because I like those guys. And Stalker is in his kind of semi-Arctic
Tundra
gear. Is it? It's Tundra
Tundra
gear,
Stalker,
is it?
Tundra Stalker, yeah.
I'm surprised he doesn't have his blooming kayak on his back as well.
And you get a Jameson cameo here for some reason.
Yeah.
But, that's...
J. Jones. Sorry, I was miles away then. Yeah, I was like, Jameson. Oh, you J. Jones.
Oh, sorry, JJJ. But there's been some
Get out of the way,
letters,
flat top.
There's been some letters, I think, previously asking questions, is this set in the Marvel universe, whatever, and it's always been referenced to be no, and I don't mind that he's in here. I think it's, a nice little comedy moment,
cute,
and I don't think it needs to lead to anything more, but yeah, and then they just decide, no, something, there's an explosion there. Snake Eyes has set off a load of C4 or something. They mentioned about a det cord and some explosives.
He's clearing the building safely and then also sealing it so no one can kind of follow him up there and stuff, yeah.
This is where he goes kind of full Die Hard.
He goes full Die Hard, and this is a little bit strange in a way, because obviously you're led to believe now for 2.5 issues worth that he is on a mission now to get to the Baroness and offer, put her 6 feet under, and then obviously at the end he's the one who actually saves her from falling.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, what was his decision in terms of saving her at the end. How did he come to that
I don't know,
decision?
mate. I
turning
think
point?
In this moment, he's probably just on the offensive as the best course of action, because if you're just trying to escape or whatever, then the same token, this is Cobra, this is Baroness, it's an evil organization. Maybe he sees it as an opportunity to. He's already infiltrated there by, he doesn't need to do anything anymore. He can just take out as many as possible, and I think that's probably his mindset before Destro turns up with his megaphone to explain the backstory.
Yeah. Well, I think he's on autopilot.
Yeah, that's perfect, because I don't think he's necessarily. It's never actually. He's not going to say it, obviously, but everyone's assuming he's out to get the Baroness. Like you mentioned, Chris, he might just be trying to take out some Cobra guys on his way to extracting himself. He might not be on a dedicated line to the Baroness, because theoretically we're led to believe he was unconscious or in a coma when the Baroness shot Scarlet. So does he even know that happened yet?
She does tell him when she's about to stick him in the face with that hot poker.
Yes.
She says your girlfriend got off easy or whatever.
Yes.
But so he does know, but there is the moment when and I hope I'm not jumping ahead too much here, but when they're behind they've put up the barricade and Snake Eyes has sort of slid in, and we don't know he slid in yet.
Yeah.
He's literally right beside the Baroness a couple of times. So I guess in my mind, he could have easily, taken care of it.
He's disguised as a Techno Viper, isn't he?
They say Toxo Viper in the comic as well.
They do, yeah, which is weird.
That's an error, yeah. So
in fact, I noticed a few errors in a couple of these comics, and they pass me by right now. But that one was one that stood out to me, and I'm thinking, that is definitely a Techno Viper helmet. But again, I think that does go to show that he was probably just getting in a position to find out what the F was going on. Why is she specifically targeting me? And possibly he was just getting in a position to get some more intel. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Because again, you're right, he could have killed her at so many different moments. He kills everyone else.
Have you guys ever done a body count on this issue?
No, that's a good shout.
Have you?
Actually.
Oh, of course.
Go for it.
Yeah. 15.
Is it?
Wow. Snake Eyes takes out 15.
That's amazing.
Not bad.
That's just on the screen, though, isn't it? He could have done
right,
more
exactly.
off, right?
Yeah, but that's just who we see him take out.
I guarantee there's another 50 on top of that.
Oh my god. Yeah, and however many are killed in the explosion, not including people that are deaf due to explosions and all these other awful things that have happened to people.
Hit by debris from the explosion on the ground. Yeah.
I got to tell you guys though, as a kid, that scene where the Night Vipers kick in the door and they're going down to take him out, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna get him," and he takes out the top one and chunks their grenade down at him. I love that scene.
I love anything like that.
That's almost a bit of an homage to maybe Silent Interlude. Maybe I'm looking too much into it, where he chucks the grenade at the ninja. It's kind of a little very kind of on a thread.
Well, it's
similar.
It's the stairway, it's the door, it's the
grenade.
him getting the There's a lot of definite kind of comparisons you can draw. Totally.
He straight up snaps that dude's neck though. that Night Viper's neck. Yeah,
I do love that though. When you see Snake Eyes doing a Rambo in the jungle kind of maneuver on the cops, or that, picking them off one by one. There's one of my favourite things in Arise Serpentor Arise is when the Sarge and a bunch of Vipers, and they're all chasing that weird, the gooey monster that was the failed Arise Serpentor, the failed Serpentor experiment.
Oh yeah,
and he one by one takes the Vipers out that are trailing. I think they might even be trailing the Joe-copter. Or something along those lines. Or they might even be trailing the monster. I can't remember off the top of my head. But he takes a Viper out one by one, and it's just oh my god, I love like that. And so that panel is just so cool.
I was thinking about the expositions we've had so far, and where we mentioned about why was Snake Eyes having that flashback, and also when Baroness was given. One of the I think it's a Toxo Viper says, "Oh, he's only after you. He doesn't want us, or he might just be a Viper." And she then her bit of exposition is just explaining to the regular foot soldier her whole back history of being in Saigon. Would she really be explaining to him that? I don't know, but the only one that really kind of fits the bill, and you say yes, that is Destro's one, because obviously he's coming in on the megaphone. But then again, he starts by saying, "Snake Eyes didn't shoot your brother." Where was it mentioned that she thought Snake Eyes did shoot her brother to Destro?
Right. It's the same thing that we get back to when when he calls Scarlet.
Yeah.
I'm having a tough time saying that, guys. I'm sorry. When he calls Scarlet and says, "Hey, the first thing that Zorana said when she came out of her coma was that the Baroness was on her way to kill Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
Where did Zorana hear that? Because there's clearly, if you look back at the staging of that scene where she's on the phone with Dr. Hundkinder, and then Zorana calls in right before she blows up the Mr. Zoftig truck. There's no way she would have heard that conversation.
Yeah.
There's weird like little staging things in here that we're just kind of taking for granted that, oh, well, this guy I'm sure knows. I mean, I presume that the Baroness is like, yeah, maybe she's told Destro, maybe that's pillow talk for those two. You know what I mean? She's like,
yeah.
Did I ever tell you about this? And Destro just now put it together. I don't know.
Just in a pair of underpants and his helmet.
Right.
But theoretically, we could argue that it was Destro's dad, Destro Senior, who was really responsible because he's the one who sold the guns.
Right.
To the he sold the firearms to those the dudes who ended up killing the Baroness de Baron de Cobre.
Which is interesting. When I was reading that part for the first time, thinking, oh, he actually was a good guy, and he was trying to do some humanitarian work. Because just before you kind of get that, I suppose, the proof of his good nature, it seems that he's just as much of an a-hole as the guys that have just turned up with the guns. Like, you kind of think, oh, she's obviously been tricked by her dad into thinking that he was a humanitarian and all that kind of stuff. And then the door closes and they have that conversation, and he's like,
a brother.
Oh, sorry, apologies. And to be like, I can't believe you got, you're buying guns when we should be doing this and this and this. And it's kind of like, oh, okay, so I understand now how, she thought that he was that he was a good guy, because he actually was.
Yeah, because he was given the money effectively to buy medical supplies, etc. But they used the money to buy the weapons, didn't they?
Yeah.
And then like we said, they're all on the top of the building. It's all crumbling. She's falling down, and who would save her but Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow?
Can I quickly just run back to that splash page on 96, the first one? Yeah. With Snake Eyes diving on the ground, firing the rifle, taking out a Viper, a trooper. You've got another, I think maybe another trooper, possibly an officer. No, it's another trooper. The Vipers, Night Vipers, Televipers up there, kind of relaying the information. There might even be, there's another trooper in the background. It's like, I think it's beautiful. That is such an amazing splash page, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the art is just is fantastic throughout. And one thing that Mark Bright does really cool on the art here is Larry's cranked up the suspension and made it almost into a disaster movie.
Yeah.
Because, you've got the rain coming in, the storm, the flames on the building. You've got the helicopter pilot who won't take off because of the conditions. The building's crumbling. There's people fleeing, civilians fleeing.
It's really great. Like, it just really ratchets up the tension.
Yeah, and
on the story.
It moves rapid. Every panel, there's no fat here. There's no excess. Everything's moving along, flowing really well. The Tomahawk, they're going to get Scarlet to the hospital. No, wait, we're the only one in the vicinity who can help Snake Eyes and the guys. It really ratchets up the tension and the suspense.
I think the art looks great with the rain as well, doesn't it? Like, the rain really adds some sort of next level to some of these scenes.
Yeah.
I got a advert here for a Nintendo game. It is a WCW game featuring a tag team.
Oh, it's Legion of Doom.
Oh, no, it's Hawk and Animal.
You're half right.
Yeah.
Not Legion of Doom. It's their WCW tag team name.
Sorry, I'm an idiot.
You'll kick yourself.
Road Warriors.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the Hawk and Animal ad, right?
Yeah, Hawk and Animal.
Yeah, that's good.
I can't believe I accidentally got it almost right. Another thing I wanted to mention is that Storm Shadow. There's a scene of him where he's avoiding a rocket jumping up into the ceiling, a Heat Viper rocket.
Oh,
can I also add that as a child I thought Heat Viper were flamethrower specialists, and I even though I read the bio a million times and they've got rockets on their ankles, I still, for some stupid reason, thought they were bloody flamethrower specialists.
Well,
in any case,
I don't know. You'll tell me immediately. I'm going to guess it's high explosive, but I don't know the other two.
I really like the staging of that scene that you're talking about, though, because it's really well thought out. You get Storm Shadow on screen the page before, then you get the Heat Viper launching its rocket, Storm Shadow jumping into the Celotex of the building, and then running through the top of the building. And to come through that same screen that we saw him on the page before.
Yeah. It's amazing. I love that we see the underside of his backpack, and they've obviously got some toy reference, and they've got the shurikens on the bottom of the backpack. but also the fact that it's not bright red, I thought is quite interesting too.
Oh yeah, that's right.
What about the tomahawk doing a flip?
Oh, that's so.
I love it.
That is so amazing, but at the
Love
same
it.
time, like ridiculous. But also, I mean, that is like the ultimate in rescue, isn't it? To catch someone in a helicopter without chopping them in half.
It's proper Tom Cruise Mission Impossible kind of special effect that I could, realistically see.
yeah.
Oh,
in one
he'd
of his
probably
movies.
do
Oh, yeah.
it. He'd
No
probably
doubt,
pilot
yeah.
the helicopter. He'd pilot the helicopter, then get them to film it again, but he would be the one jumping into the helicopter as well, and then they'd
Yes.
tie the two scenes together because he's a nut bar.
Yeah.
Also, I think HEAT stands for High Explosive Anti-Tank, because they
Okay.
do mention anti-tank weaponry in the bio, but they don't say the acronym. High Explosive Anti-Tank is what it says on Yojo anyway.
Yeah, and as we've seen in quite a lot of issues lately, Larry likes to wrap it all up in 2 or 1 pages, or
Or a panel.
or here in 2 panels.
Yeah.
Because you get the 2 kind of choppers. This reminded me a little bit. This panel where the second to last panel. The 2 choppers are flying away from each other. That issue 34 shakedown where Ace and Wild Weasel kind of salute each other as they're going past, as they're flying past each other.
They might as well be.
Skywalking, that's what they call it.
They're skywalking. And here it's oh look, Baroness and Destro are waving at us. That's nice. Let's give a wave back.
Blow him a kiss.
Yeah. So I mean, as a whole, if we're looking at these 4 issues, we're obviously going to rank them Yo-Joe, Cola out of 8. Who would like to go first with their ranking for this one?
Is it out of 8? I thought it was out of 10.
Is that what I said? Out of 8? That's only because I'm giving it an 8. What a clown! What an absolute clown!
I'm like, my whole
You
time
can't-
I'm thinking, I'm
outed
sure I've
yourself
given
there
something
on
a
that,
9. I'm sure I've given something a
Jeez.
9 before.
I am unwell.
All of that's staying in, by the way. So
of course it is.
You've
Even
done,
if I
you've
say,
done
cut it.
You've done your one. So Chad, what would you say, mate?
I'm giving it an 8.
This
You can only go up to 8. No, you can go up to 10.
No, I'll give it an 8. That's the highest you can go. No, I give it a 10. I really do. I love this story. I think I've actually pointed at some what I consider to be like some weird, like some goofs in the storytelling and some little things like that. Just some weirdness in the storytelling. But this is the story that made me go all in on G.I. Joe when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, I was already reading it regularly month to month, but this is the story where I was like, no, I'm going to be a lifer for this stuff.
Okay.
Like, I love this story so much, and I feel like it is as close to like a self-contained sort of action movie story that you get in the run. And there's stakes that sort of set up stuff that happens for the next 50 issues.
Agreed.
In this, there's lots of good comedy in it too. One thing that we didn't talk about was that poor Televiper who constantly is showing the Baroness like, hey, this is going on downstairs. Hey, this is going on downstairs. Yeah. And I really love that. No, it's a great book. I think it really sets up for everything in my second story, which is when they send Snake Eyes to Barovia. But yeah, no, this is great. It's a solid 10 for me, warts and all.
Just for point of reference on the ratings, I've only ever given 2 10s, which was Shakedown, issue 34, and
great one.
I've called it Cobra Island Shenanigans because I don't think it has an actual name, which is issues 45 to 48. Where obviously the Ripcord Zartan and then Storm Shadow Snake Eyes go to get Zartan. Go to get
Yang, yeah. That's a great story.
And Chris, our good friend Chris, has only given 1 10 out so far, and that was issue 85, which was the second silent issue.
Oh, but it's beautiful. It's so amazing, that silent issue. I actually prefer that to the silent interlude, like like the only Joe fan I think that does. But it's
What are you giving this though? That's what we want to know.
I'm gonna sit in between you guys and stop you from kissing, and
yes.
because I'm jealous. I'm gonna go with 9. Just because I just think it is brilliant. I think it's action packed. It's interesting. The plot, like you say, there are some kind of little moments where you're like, but how does she know that? And how does he know? But at the same time, it's really intricate and complex and good, and I love it. And I think it's brilliant. A couple of things I remember those mistakes I noticed. One was that there's a scene when the long range recon patrol of Wade, Stalker, and Storm Shadow are just walking into the Cobra building, and there's a shot of them. You don't see Stalker's like top half, but you see his arms, and he's coloured white.
Oh yeah.
So I'm kind of like initially I'm thinking, oh that's a mistake. But, you know, those things happen. It's not a big deal. But the other one was the fact that we flip-flop between Snake Eyes having chest knives and not having chest knives in the two last final issues. So when he actually gets changed, he doesn't appear to put the knives on. And then in the one issue where he's raiding the explosives area, getting the TNT together, and all the troopers come down the stairs and they're like, whoa, let's back the off. He doesn't have them on his chest. And then all of a sudden, when we see him in the next issue, and again, there was a couple more scenes in that previous issue where he doesn't have them. And then all of a sudden he's got them again in that next issue. So are we led to believe that he puts them on at that point? It seems weird because he's already left that arena. I don't know. But in any case, I just think it's brilliant. I loved it very much. And the art is gorgeous.
Yeah.
He's got a strong run coming here, Mark Bright, for sure.
Oh, my God. No kidding.
He had a good run for Sheffield Wednesday as well, didn't he?
Yeah. Up front. Scored a lot of goals.
Only you will get that out of the three of us, I believe.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chad, that was a soccer from the UK joke right there.
Yes.
Cool.
Not even a joke, a fact. Good stuff. Well, I don't even know what we're reading next week. I'll have to have a look and find out and tell people at the end of the show. But we do need to have a little section of the show called British Colloquialisms, a.k.a. over-egging the pudding.
We got a pudding, we're gonna egg it. We got a pudding, we're gonna over-egg it. We got a pudding, we got no criticisms. That means it's time for some British colloquialisms.
This week, my saying that I heard this week was, I think I was at work and someone had made a coffee from the coffee machine, but they pressed the wrong buttons or something. It had all come out just complete mishmash. And they said, oh, this has gone really pear-shaped. And that's it. Saying something's gone pear-shaped means basically it's not gone well, or it's not as planned. I have no idea on the origins of that, but there you go. Feel free to use that. Everything's gone pear-shaped.
Amazing. My one is because we've got to stick to this stupid rule where it has to happen within like the week that we record, and it's only been about 3 days.
That's the rule, man. If you don't want on, get off the train.
Well, the only one that's come up in that time was when I was with my family. We were watching something on TV, American Family Side, and I can't remember what we were even watching. And I just commented because a friend of mine used to say things like, "Oh, he doesn't speak a word of the Queen's." That was what he would used to say, and I said it out loud, thinking people would understand what I meant, and they were like, "What?" And I'm like, like the Queen's English. He doesn't speak a word of the Queen's English, and again, like they're just looking at me like. And it's basically what you say to someone if they don't speak the language, or they're trying to. Then that's what the saying used to be. And so I said that out loud, and everyone was like perplexed. And I thought, well, surely that makes sense, but no, obviously it doesn't.
Well, let's get back on track because
does Chad have one?
Oh yeah, Chad, do you have a British colloquialism?
I do not. But I got both of those.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Yeah, even without the explanations, I knew exactly what those were.
And guess what? You don't speak a word of the Queen's.
That's right. And I've been described as pear-shaped. So,
there you go. We're jumping back on the G.I. Joe train just for one brief moment because Chris is going to talk about some toys.
Chris talks about toys, ho ho. Chris talks about G.I. Joe. He talks about all the things from the comic book and the animated show. Chris talks about toys. Chris talks about toys. Chris talks about toys. Chris talks about toys.
This week, I love saying this. It just reminds me of the Fast Show.
This week, I have been mostly eating chipolatas.
But this week, I have been mostly playing with or thinking about Snake Eyes version 3 in the United States, or I think it was version 3 in the UK. No, version 2 in the United Kingdom. So that is obviously the Snake Eyes that is attached to this run of comics that we've been discussing. I tried to keep it, related to what we're doing. Again, we're seeing the Tomahawk, but yet again, I'm postponing my talk on the Tomahawk because I just wanted to talk through this figure. And even though I've kind of given the game away a little bit previously, basically just kind of relates to the fact that when I was on holiday in the US, I went into the toy store and boom, there was Snake Eyes, brand new stonking Snake Eyes. And I was like, this is amazing. Picked it off the rack, had to buy it, brilliant. Added that to the list of amazing figures I bought that weekend. or that 2 weeks period, 3 week period we were out there. And again, like, just thought it was an update for the figure. Thought it was a pretty cool looking update for the figure. I was really intrigued with it. I thought the weapons and the accessories were incredible. And obviously, just talking through it, it's the Snake Eyes that's wearing the Paine brothers' clothing.
Yeah.
You've got the mask, obviously, from Crispo. You've got the chest knife kind of conglomeration. I suppose the pants... I suppose the most of the rest of it is from... Is it Desaad?
Yeah, it's Desaad, Crispo, and Torquemada. So Torquemada had the knives. He's the guy that has like the domino mask on, I think. There's like one guy that's got like just the domino mask.
Yeah. So he is wearing something from each of them, which is cute. And then I guess at some stage he stitched it all together afterwards to create a more solid get-up. But again, having no context of that comic at the time, I just thought it was really cool. In any case, he's got the chest knives, which were, I think they're called butterfly knives. No, they're not called butterfly knives. They're called, what are they called?
Oh, I don't know, but they're the ones with like the spikes on the handle.
Yeah,
but I honestly don't know what they're called.
I feel really bad because I feel like I've said it many times before in the past and can't remember. But anyway, he's got those on his chest. It's not butterfly, is it? It's like, anyway.
Just big butcher knives is what I call them.
Huge, wicked, awesome knives on his chest. But the problem I thought with that was that they didn't like come out, or you couldn't use them. They were molded on, so it was like a little bit of a bummer.
And he doesn't use them in the story either.
No, they're just for decoration. But again, backpack with pegs so that you could slide a sword down there, and he comes with quite an odd sword that has like the holes in it. Mm-hmm. The submachine gun with the hook though was brilliant. I loved that.
I love that.
I thought that was so cool and a really cool upgrade. And the weird 3-stick nunchuck conglomeration was really awesome as well. And the blowgun, which I thought was just
that's a weird piece.
Yeah, it reminds me of Princess Leia as the bounty hunter.
Oh, Bosch,
yeah, with her kind of ridiculously long gun.
It's weird for a guy. I mean, this has nothing to do with it, but even as a kid, I thought it was weird to have the blowgun for a guy who doesn't talk. You know what I mean? Like, it's a weird. I mean, not that he can't use his mouth. Not that
he can blow, mate.
Not that he doesn't.
He can blow. It's classified information, but he can blow.
But as a silent weapons guy, to have something that relates to I don't know, the face and the mouth, I thought it was always interesting.
Hand to gland combat instructor. Sorry. Anyway, yes. No, yeah, you're right. There are some odd choices in there, but also like, I just love it. I think it's so out there and quirky, and when you gear him all up, he looks amazing. Like, you know, he can carry all of his gear to a degree, can't he? So
yeah, and he's got that weird little, like, what's that weird little thing on the side of his head? The little, like, it's almost like a spotlight, or is that like a radio?
I never knew what it was. I just thought it was like some sort of like earpiece or something that he would utilise. But yeah, it does stick out. And it's odd. But you know, the big pouches on the arms as well, like on the upper arms. But there's loads of different textures in there too. Like there's the shiny like legs, but then he's got that kind of textured top underneath. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, there's a strap over his right shoulder. There's a strap that's obviously maybe holding something, you know, to make it look like he's holding the backpack on or something as well. But it's just really cool. And then the silver accents, and it's a weird update. But again, I think works for him. But in any case, glorious card art as well. Just beautiful card art. Now you got the figure in the US in 1989.
That's correct.
We got him in 91. Part of the G.I. Joe carded range of figures that were. So we went from Action Force. Well, we went from, you know, Palitoy Action Force to Hasbro Action Force. Then we moved into G.I. Joe the Action Force, which was again like, you know, rebranded G.I. Joe carded figures. And then we went to just G.I. Joe carded, which was effectively they just got bored of, you know, doing anything on home soil, and everything was just, you know, repackaged in a way in the you know, well, hardly touched, shall we say. Now I will read through his file card very quickly. Subject was Ranger qualified and graduated from Recondo School in Nha Trang prior to his service with Long Range Recon Patrol Unit in Southeast Asia. It is generally accepted that he received extensive training in mythic martial arts from the same ninja family that produced Storm Shadow. No official records in existence, qualified expert in all NATO and Warsaw Pact small arms, black belt in 12 fighting systems, and highly skilled in the use of edged weapons. Quote is, What can you say about a good guy who goes bump in the night? The man is the most wicked guy in the valley. The bad guys would like to see him declared illegal under the Geneva Convention. On the other hand, he is kind to small animals, which I think is brilliant. But again, zero context to the issue that he was in where he actually got this get-up.
Yeah.
And so, like, it was just amazing to me that this figure existed. And I just, as a kid, when you see a new version of a loved character, it's an instant buy.
How many more versions of this character were there, out of interest?
Sorry, that makes me laugh a little bit. If you go onto Yojo, you'll see we're up to version 68.
Okay.
And I'm not kidding you. And in fact, that's only on Yojo. They haven't updated, so there's I think it's probably broken 70, the versions of Snake Eyes. But in terms of the original vintage, if we go up to, say, 94, there were 6. And, 6 if you count the 1.5, 7 if you count the second swivel arm version. Yeah.
How did your headcanon work for this toy when you were a kid? Do you remember?
Don't really. I just enjoyed using him as Snake Eyes. There was no... I didn't change anything. There was no narrative in my head about him. It was just, a bad figure that was, that went on missions. But to be honest, this isn't my favourite Snake Eyes. And in the same year, we got version 4 in the US. That is my favourite version, which we got.
That's the blue one, right?
Yeah.
The blue and grey?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that version.
Absolutely adored that version of the...
That's a great
figure.
toy.
Yeah. But again, so that's the Snake Eyes in 89 or in 91 for us. I just loved having him. I just thought he was really cool.
As one of the few characters who in the comics changes costume. I mean, Stalker does it, and your big 5 or 6 Joes kind of always change costumes, right? But but Snake Eyes changes costume pretty regularly. You wonder sort of what the in-story reaction was to this suit. The stuff that happens sort of off-panel. Oh yeah, Snake Eyes get thrown into some weird sex dungeon at the Cobra consulate, and this is the thing he wears from now on.
They should have been called the Sex Brothers, shouldn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, it's such an interesting thing that he gets this on, and it's not just something he wears for this mission. He wears it until he puts on the new one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really interesting.
And it's funny, I guess the version 4 doesn't get that much play in the comics until he has to switch out to his Ninja Force garb.
Well, I think is he wearing that on the first cover of Ninja Force? What's the first cover of the G.I. Joe featuring Snake Eyes?
It probably is that version, actually.
121 maybe, or 120? I can't think.
Yeah. I think he's wearing that blue and grey one, if I remember correctly.
So they did get some kind of mileage out of it, hopefully. Then.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, he's wearing the weird black one with the white eye slits on the cover. Yeah, but there is a cover that has that blue and grey costume with the kind of orange visor featured pretty prominently. As a kid, I was super obsessed. As much as I was obsessed with the comics and the toys, I was really obsessed with the trading cards, the Joe trading cards.
Yeah.
And the Snake Eyes. In that trading card set, there's two Snake Eyes. There's an original Joe's Snake Eyes, and then there's a new recruits Snake Eyes card. And the new recruits one is the orange visor, blue and gray and black. And I always thought in my head, I was like, what is this gonna be a new Snake Eyes, because it said new recruits on it instead of just G.I. Joe. But yeah, I was happy to find when I got the figure finally that was not a new Snake Eyes.
Yeah, and again, really cool. I mean, was this on your radar at all, Chief?
Ben had this, I think, but yeah, not. I never had the figure, and I think similar to you, when we were doing setups out in the garden and building bases and stuff, there was no extra narrative in my head about he's now gone through this storyline or whatever. It was just another get up for another mission.
Yeah. Well, so that basically brings me to the end of Chris Talks Toys. This, Snake Eyes version 3, 1989 US, and version 2, 1991 UK.
Good stuff. Thank you very much, sir. We'll be more talking toys next week. One of my favourite segments, because I pretty much know nothing about these toys, so I'm getting educated every week.
Yeah, that was cool.
For free.
You're welcome, guys. That was almost like mansplaining to Chad what he already knew.
Yeah. But I knew it. My hand is in the air. My hand is in the air, waving furiously. I'd like to know, sir. Please tell me, sir.
Sorry about the fansplaining, Chad. Anyway.
No, that's cool. I enjoyed the UK history of that toy, because I'd never heard that.
Awesome.
Yeah, good stuff.
You're welcome again.
It's now time for Chief Asked Chad a question. Chief Asked Chad a question.
What'll he say? What'll he do when Chief asks Chad a question?
He'll leave.
He'll leave. This is actually, it's a bit of a cop-out anyway, because this is the backup question I had for Chris last week.
Brilliant.
When I asked him a pizza-based question, and if he didn't like pizza, this was going to be the question. So I haven't even done anything original for Chad. I was just like, oh, f*** it, I'm just going to use something I've already got rather than get a new question.
Screw Chad, right?
That's fine.
The old spuds, the old potatoes. Everyone loves potatoes. If you don't like potatoes, you shouldn't be listening to the show, because this is a potato-friendly show. If you're going to have potatoes, what's your preferred method of cooking? Do you like the boiled, the mash, the chip, the steamed, the fried, the baked, the sautéed? You know, what's your go-to potato?
Man, I'm from South Carolina in the United States. I'm a loaded mashed potatoes boy.
What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
You don't know what loaded mashed potatoes are? Oh man,
mashed potatoes with things in it.
Yeah, okay. it's like a baked potato, but you just take the skin off of it and mash whatever's inside, but you like throw everything, in it. Like you've got cheese, and you might have some sausage, and you might have some, some I hate to say vegetables because they don't usually put that in mine, but you might have some vegetables in there.
So you bake them. Okay, so your technique for getting it to, so it's effectively a baked potato. You remove the skin, break it all up, and add things to it. Yeah.
That's how I do it.
Okay,
yeah.
So in the UK,
we peel them, don't we, and then just mash them.
Yeah, I would
boil, and mash them.
Peel.
So you boil them, yeah.
Peel, boil, /steam. I don't want to be slashing on my food again. Chris accused me of that last week. Boil or steam, and then mash with a massive knob of butter.
Knob. I love knobs.
A massive knob of butter and a splash of milk, and then mash it all up. But what
mash it up.
What I've been doing recently, and this has now turned into Chief Ask Chief a question. What I've been doing recently is taking the potato, baking it in the oven, and then after it's pretty much there with about 10 minutes to go, take it out, cut it in half, scoop all the inside out, much similar to your North Carolina variant.
Oh, but then South Carolina.
Apologies, I'm in a lot of trouble now.
East Carolina.
Is North Carolina Flair country?
Well, I think Carolina's Flair country,
okay,
but
Carolina's Flair country. Anyway, I'm scooping out the inside into a bowl, putting in the butter and a little bit of milk, and then I'm doing your loaded variety. I'm adding all my ingredients in, mixing it all together. Then I'm putting it back into that potato skin, which is crispy like a shell.
Wow.
I'm grating cheese on top, and I'm putting it back in the oven for 10 minutes.
Yep.
Wow.
So I'm doing my own version of a loaded, really.
Yeah. So my mom used to call this grater taters, is what she would call them, and you just threw everything in them, right? You would bake them. And then you'd scoop them out. You'd put sour cream. You'd put bacon bits. You'd put sausage. You'd put
heroin,
different types of cheese. Heroin. That's right. Throw a little bit of this terrapin brew in there. That might work. Like whatever's laying around.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's how we did it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Chris, potatoes? I don't know. Is that something you're legally allowed to eat?
I am illegally allowed to eat potatoes. I'm illegally allowed to eat potatoes as well. I love potatoes in all sorts of ways, shape, or forms. But one of my favourite ways of doing them was doing a baked potato with. Okay, so I do it where I put like an oil over the skin and sea salt, kind of roll it around in sea salt and oil, and then I cook it for longer than you should, so the skin is really super kind of crispy and really kind of nice, and inside's really soft. Okay. And then I cut that bad boy open and I dump things in like coleslaw or beans or cheese or all three of those varieties. And obviously, just put the vegan versions of those in, cheese and coleslaw. But that's what I would do, and I absolutely adore baked potatoes, or jacket potatoes as we call them.
Yeah, in the
like
UK,
that.
jacket potatoes.
Yeah. Nice.
Good stuff. There'll be more questions next week. Not for
talking
Chris,
food.
Not for Chris or Chad next week, because it will be for Chris, but I think next week Mr. Chris Sims from All Rocket Ajax is coming on the show to talk about issues 77 to 100. So there'll be a question for Chris number 2 next week.
77?
That's a huge
Is that what I said?
For real?
Is that what I said?
97, right?
Oh my goodness, I need to go to bed. 97 to 100.
I was going to say, we're recapping a lot of issues we've already done, but that's fine.
That is a long show.
16 hours later.
97,
No that's
97, 98, 99.
I was feeling kind of
100.
slighted, yeah.
Okay. That's glad we got that.
Just give me 100 or 155, man. Jeez.
I'm glad someone on the show is paying attention. It was all a little elaborate.
You should join the show anyway, so that it could be Talking Joes with Chief and Chris and Chad, and then just have like every single issue done like this the rest of the time.
No.
Listen, it's too much.
We'll kill him.
Too much. But
Yes.
I would love to come back whenever you guys get to something that you think would be good for. This is a blast. I had a good time.
Ninja 4 Snake Eyes territory.
Oh, hell yeah. Let's do it. That's great.
With that in mind, you can catch us in all the usual places. Talking_Joe on Twitter, Talking Joe Comics on Instagram, TalkingJoeComics@gmail.com, Talking Joe, a G.I. Joe podcast on the Facebook. Where can people find you, Chad, if they want to get in touch with you?
Twitter's probably the best place. I'm at Chad Bowers. Again, I got lucky with that one.
Simples. And you, Diagnostic 80?
Yeah. Well, there you go. Diagnostic 80, DIAGNOSTIK80 on Twitter, Facebook, all that kind of jazz. But then also the Full Force podcast or the Full Force on Twitter, Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, pretty much everywhere you can find anything ever.
Yeah, good stuff. So with that being done and said, we will catch you down the road.
Bye.
Big thanks to our guest, Chad Bowers. Bye.
Thank you.